Acushnet Board of Health meeting on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024, at 5:07. I'm Dave DeVignan, I'm chairman. With me to my right is Bob Medeiros. With me to my left is Tom Fortin. We have our health agent, Joe Correa, and our clerk, Wanda. First order of business. I should mention that we are being video and audio taped. First order of business, we have an appointment with Public Health Excellent Training Hub lead trainer, Derek Macedo.
Gentlemen, all right. My name is Derek Macedo, Public Health Training Coordinator for our newly named Bay State Public Health Training Hub. So what the training hub is the state decided, and rightfully so, that we needed a little bit more of a standardization process as far as how inspections get done, how we write reports, the way that we look at things. Right now, with 351 cities and towns, everyone kind of trains to their needs. So if you don't have a lot of housing, you really don't train in housing. Don't have a lot of food, maybe you don't train that much in food. What the state was trying to look at is how do we get overall basic training through the message going out the same to everybody. So they created these training hubs, and they created 10 training hubs throughout the state. We're one of those training hubs. You guys are in a shared service agreement with New Bedford, where it's Acushnet, New Bedford, and Fairhaven. My training hub is a group of 5 of those SSAs, those shared service agreements. There's on the paper in front of you, there's a list of the communities. I have it on here. So the SSAs that we cover are the New Bedford one, which is New Bedford, Acushnet, Fairhaven. We have the Bristol Norfolk Public Health Partners of Eastern, Foxborough, Mansfield, Norton, Plainville, and Sharon. North Attleboro, which is North Attleboro, Berkeley, Dighton, Rehoboth, Taunton. South Coast Public Health Coalition of Fall River, Seekonk, Swansea. And the South Coast Public Health Collaborative of Freetown, Lakeville, Marion, Mattapoisett, Rochester, Westport. So we do have quite the large area that we're covering. It's myself and 2 other trainers. The way that they've broken the program down is 3 different tiers. So you have the first tier, which is, they call it co-requisites, prerequisites. It's basically online learning. Learn at your own pace. There's over 20 different courses in either housing or food. It's broken down. You take those. When you've completed those, you're qualified for in the classroom portion of the training, which if you're a new inspector, then it's much more extended out. Seasoned inspector, they've like a refresher course. So it's more like a 1-day course. Could be a 2-day course in food, but housing, just 1 day. Much shorter than the full, 5-6 day courses that new inspectors will have. And then the third part is actually going out in the field and doing field training, going out with the inspectors. And the way that I'm doing it, especially with an inspector, like if I take Joe for an example, he's been doing this for many, many years. He knows what he's doing. I'm not going to show Joe how to do an inspection. He knows how to do an inspection. We're going to talk more about, let's look at the code. Are we writing the proper code down? Or is it nice and clear? That type of stuff is what I'm going to look at with a seasoned inspector. Newer inspector, like I was out in Swansea all day today. I'll be out there again Thursday. They just hired a new inspector. We're starting right at ground level. Like, this is how I do my inspection. So today, the first inspection we did, I did the inspection. Second one, I let him do it with me right behind. Everyone's going to be a little bit different on how I'm going to approach them, depending on their level of field work, how they are, that type of stuff. Right now, the program's just food housing, but we know it's going to be expanding. They're going to be doing Title V as part of the program. Camps are going to be coming as part of the program. I've heard that they're going to be doing body art as part of the program, but I think that's a little more down the road. We're focused on the food and housing, but Title V is definitely coming, and camps are definitely coming.
Well, food and health, food and, and housing is very, very important.
Absolutely,
That's one of the most important factors in the Board of Health,
absolutely.
is our restaurants, our bar rooms. We try, before we had health agents, we used to do it ourselves.
Right,
And I started off with federal inspections for food.
yeah.
And I was trained for federal inspections for food, but I know things keep changing every year. Somebody's gotta keep jobs up in Boston, so they keep changing a little bit to keep the job, you know?
Absolutely.
So, but I was trained that way, and Wanda came out a few times with me, and she can tell you, I'm no piece of cake to go over.
And food for sure, like every city in town has food. So, like not every city in town has housing, or maybe they only have a few cases, so, like, you know, New Bedford, there's a ton of housing in New Bedford, but, you know, I've also worked in Freetown where I did one housing in 3 years. But every single city in town has food, I don't care how big or small you are. So, food for sure has to be a key part of it. Housing, I think it's good for every inspector, whether you have a lot of housing or not, to at least know how to do that inspection, how to go about it, because it could get into court, it could get a little muddy. So you really should know how to at least try to navigate those waters. So yeah, I agree that food and housing was a good place to start. I think Title V and camps are a logical next step to go. What I would like to see, hopefully, and one of the reasons I came to talk to you guys, was I would eventually like to get sworn in with the three SSA communities of New Bedford, Acushnet, and Fairhaven. Kind of a double-edged sword on that one. One, it helps out Joe, because if I'm bringing somebody from out of town and I need to inspect a restaurant, if I'm sworn in, Joe, do you have a restaurant I might be able to go inspect? He could literally just hand me a folder and I could go inspect. So what's happening right now, I've been training with the state. I've gone out in New Bedford, I've gone out in Fairhaven, went out in Mattapoisett, but I've had to have the agent with me because I'm not sworn in any of these communities yet. So it's been a little bit of, all right, can you come? All right, well, if you can come, can the state come? It's been a little bit hard to schedule, so it would make things a lot easier that way. Secondly, with Title V hopefully coming down the road, I don't have a lot of Title V in New Bedford, where the hub is. I would need a community like Acushnet, which has the Title V, to be able to come and do an inspection and go, hey, this is a bottom hole. I would have to wait months. And if it was just in New Bedford, I would have to wait months before I could actually do one.
Yeah, Fairhaven's slow too.
Fairhaven doesn't have as much as I thought. I thought
No,
that they
they-
had a lot more septic, but they really
They
don't
have a lot of
ton.
sewage in Fairhaven. All West Islands, has sewage now, they.
I didn't
developed it.
realize that
Yeah.
until I was actually talking
Well,
with
they have their
Fairhaven.
own treatment plant way out in West Island now. And then they have their little cubby holes out in the sand dunes out there,
Yeah,
where they discharge the waste.
yeah.
And it works, but a lot of rain right now, you know, so they can
True.
take it easy, everybody.
Is
Even
there a
say-
reason why the other communities haven't sworn you in, or you just haven't got to that point?
We're getting to that point. I've already had the discussions with Fairhaven, should be having a meeting in a couple of weeks. New Bedford, we're discussing, it's been a little more bumpy with the union. We're trying to figure out a couple of union things if there's, because I'm a non-union employee, so we're working on a few issues with that. But the plan is for me to get sworn in New Bedford as well.
Yep.
That might be an interesting part.
I guess.
With the union.
It's
I should
more,
check into that.
if you haven't, like, I think it's more, they were concerned about taking work away from
Yeah,
the
sure,
union employee.
sure, I get it.
So it's more, if you're comfortable with what we're doing, then, it's-
Something that we need to check with.
Yeah, I would definitely.
But the union employees can go work on a non-union job. There's no squabble about it.
Yeah, but you gotta check with the union first.
No, I'm just
before you
saying,
make a decision.
I have nothing against the union.
Before a grievance is filed,
Right.
you have to check.
Right.
Yeah, that's a quick check, and
I would think it wouldn't be as big, where New Bedford has multiple inspectors, it's kind of just you, so it's, if we're working together, you would more than likely be the one that would file the grievance, so it would kind of be a little weird at that point.
I can't see that being an issue, it's just a matter
You
of,
just
you
need to-
know.
But it is what the
somebody
question-
else
Gotta clarify
not
that,
asking the
definitely.
question,
Right now, we're talking about only restaurant inspection, food inspections and housing.
Correct.
Okay.
And you guys don't really have housing, so at this point, it would be more, in the short term, especially right for at least the next 6 months, it would be more almost strictly food, and it would be more me helping out Joe if he needed a hand. Because, like I said, we have food in every community. I wouldn't really be needing to drag anyone down here yet to do inspections until it got to the point of maybe taking a New Bedford inspector to show them something different, or we're in Title V, and I don't have anywhere to go for Title V inspections. But again, I'm putting the cart way in front. You know what I mean? I'm trying to project out at least what I see a year from now. Like I don't wanna spring anything on you guys. So right now, it's literally just food. A year from now, we might be looking at the Title V, and now we might be looking at me coming into the community a little bit more about the swearing in process at that point.
How much time can you spend with a town like this? I know New Bedford's big, a lot of housing, a lot of restaurants, a lot of bar rooms. How much time do you think you could spend with the town of Acushnet?
It's not necessarily with the city or town, it's gonna be with the inspector. So like, just because I'm based out of New Bedford and they have a lot of housing, once I've trained the New Bedford inspectors, then I'm done with the New Bedford inspectors.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So now, I would only be bringing people to New Bedford if we needed to do housing. If Joe needed to do some housing training, I would bring Joe to New Bedford at that point. But it's not like I'm tied to New Bedford, I'm in New Bedford, but I'm training him.
I think I'd rather go to Fall River.
If I can get sworn in for
So what you're trying to say is like if you have 25 towns there,
Right.
if there's a new inspector in Plainville and you were trying to get that person like down the road, some Title V experience because they had none or very little, you'd be looking for towns to be able to just any given day take that
Correct.
inspector go do it.
Now, if we're gonna take Plainville for an example, I'm hoping that I can find some friends
Something closer by.
up in that general area, so I'm not making the Plainville and Foxborough guys come all the way down here.
Sure, I get
But
it. I get
part
it.
of my job is, if they hire a new guy in Plainville and it's time to do some food training, I'm going to Plainville for a week or two, however long it takes to get this person trained.
Okay.
They just hired a new person in Swansea. I spent all day today in Swansea. I'll be there Thursday all day, and we're already setting up some dates for next week. Because I know he knows what he's doing. I will get to him. I really wanna get to those new inspectors, really get my fingers into them, so that we can get them in the field, and I'll get to the seasoned inspectors. That's kinda how I've been focused on it, and hopefully that'll work, but we'll see. That part, we'll see.
It's tough to find experienced people today.
Extremely.
No,
Even
this is a good program.
the hubs
The old
are
timers,
having a hard
those
time
old timers are all
finding
leaving.
experienced people.
Is there any talk about like opening up some sort of mini school to train people that come out of college so that
I think this
maybe
is,
they take the course and they said, this ain't for me. But
this is
at
kind of
least
like the infancy of it.
okay.
I think, so the governor had eliminated some of the college degree requirements for a lot of positions. I think in lieu of a college degree, or maybe up to a certain level of position, this program, I think, is gonna cover that. Like, once we've got the Title V and the camps and all that moving, I can envision, okay, Acushnet's hired a brand new inspector. That inspector is gonna go through my training for 6 weeks, whatever the case may be. 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is. And then when you get that inspector back, you're getting an inspector that's been trained in housing, food, Title V. You guys aren't trying to train on the fly. Especially a small community where the chances of you being, if you know that he's gonna retire in a year, you're probably not gonna be able to hire a new inspector and have him work with him for a year to learn everything that he knows. It's really not practical, like budget-wise, just not practical. We can be that bridge. You know what I mean? Instead of the board trying to figure out how do we get this person trained, Well, that's what the hub's there for now. We'll help you guys with that. And that's what benefit to, I think, a lot of these smaller communities is the hub can help you guys bridge that gap. We're not gonna be able to come in and do all of your inspections for you, but we can help. Like, if Joe has questions about something, I know when I was in Freetown, it would have been awesome to have a hub that we could have reached out to bounce questions off. It was bouncing off each other. But if he's not around, then I can't ask. But it's nice to have a hub that you can ask questions, you can get advice, we'll come out and hey, I just need another set of eyes. We'll come out and we'll do it. We'll give you those eyes. And I have 2 other people with me that are also seasoned inspectors, which is a nice benefit. They know housing, they know food, they know Title V. It's nice to have 2 other people that also know what they're doing. So I can send one this way, one that way, and I can go this way, and we can hit 3 communities at once.
Do you know something that we don't know? Joe's gonna leave in a year? I'll cut his pay.
Listen,
That'll make it go faster.
listen, all I can tell you is that the selectmen are talking layoffs, so can't tell you anything more than that.
He better not go anywhere.
I will say this about, I'm on board with everything that I hear. I think it's fantastic that someone's actually have some forward thinking here in the state. I think it's a real problem with town employees, not only in boards of health, conservations, planning departments, they just can't find anybody to fill positions. For now, housing and food inspections I'm okay with. Title V, hate to say this to you, but he's gonna have to give me the green light that you're okay. In other words, I want him, no, because Joe, I'll say this about Joe, he's got a background like no other because he did installations for a decade or whatever it was, working for a company, installing. He did design before that, so he's got, on top of the inspection, he's got the whole ball of wax.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to hear from him to give me the level of confidence that, oh yeah, I was there and I watched them roll with bottom hole, roll with a Title V, and then I would have the level of comfort as long as you get.
And I'm
his blessing.
perfectly fine, like, I did
otherwise-
septic for 3 years in Freetown, but I have a culinary background, I have 20 years in restaurants. You wanna talk restaurants? I will fight you to the death on restaurants. Septic, I would go to somebody like him, if I have a question, I'm going to Joe with that question. I don't know everything about septic, I know a good amount, but not nearly as much as he does, so even though I'm the hub trainer, I'm still learning just as much. I learned so much when I went out with the state yesterday. I learned a lot about HACCP inspection that I didn't know. So I'm learning as this goes on, and I fully understand you have all that you need in Title V. It's not about,
But on the flip side, he does take vacation time. He could get sick. He could take a leave of absence. It would be good to have that backup all set.
Yeah, definitely.
that you know that
Yes,
in a pinch,
yes.
you could slide in.
He could
Yes.
fall off his boat.
We don't want
So
that.
That happened.
I did do that. But it wasn't in the water, so it hurt.
That's what we had, when we had, way back before Joe was on, one of the other inspectors couldn't do it, so we would call in somebody from Mattapoisett. We used to
Yeah.
call Dale in, I think Dale used to
Yeah.
come in. There was a few other guys
think
that
we
we could
even-
use
Yeah.
to cover for us.
Yeah.
But in this case, like Dave's saying, it's actually a perfect situation if like Joe
And
can't be
if the
available.
on an even more perfect situation, I could kill multiple birds with one stone. So you call me because whatever, he fell off his boat and you need me to come do an inspection. I might have somebody that I could bring with me and get a training done at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
now
that's
Works hand in hand.
I did the inspection, you guys got what you needed, I got this person an inspection, they needed that, win-win all around.
Right.
So
Somebody gets
it's,
trained and at the same time.
Correct.
So it works out well.
right, so I can let this person do the inspection as long as I have jurisdiction in the town, that's all that really matters. So that's where it's like, when we went out yesterday, I had to bring a New Bedford inspector with me, cause I just didn't have jurisdiction. So they were kinda like, just hanging around. It is what it is right now, it worked fine, but it would be nice to be able to just go, take this person and go. Especially when it gets to housing and Title V. As a food shouldn't be a big deal, but the other two,
Are they gonna be trained for soils also, Joe?
I mean, they have to be, but I don't know how that's gonna work out through the training hub.
At this point, way too early to tell, but I'm assuming, so right now,
That's a time-consuming thing, too.
there's prerequisites, before I can do a field training with anybody, there's prerequisites that they have to take. And I'm sure that they're gonna say, before I can do anything with Title V, they have to have soil evaluator, and they're gonna have to have system inspector. I'm sure of that they're gonna say that. I can't guarantee it, but I'd be shocked if they said, no, don't worry about
Yeah,
that.
because if you went out to do Title V inspections, you would have to know about soils also. I'm sure Joe can teach you about soils.
Hmm?
Joe ain't around, I did that for, what, 10, 12 years, 15 years? I worked with USDA and I worked with UPEC.
Well, I have my system inspector in soil, but that's,
Well, that was doing soil evaluations.
hmm?
I worked with them for like, I don't know, 10, 12 years, I guess. Then they found somebody cheaper than me and he got with somebody else.
Isn't that always the way?
Always the same.
So what are you seeking tonight?
Tonight was more,
Introductory?
introduction, giving you guys some information. If you had questions, fire away. Eventually I would like to have the discussion about getting sworn in. That doesn't need to be tonight, and it really doesn't even need to be next month, but
Okay.
I would like to have the discussion. It would be valuable to, I think, both parties, myself, the hub, and the town.
Yeah,
But-
the only thing is we definitely have to check with the union situation.
Yeah. I mean, now.
There's a few
I
things that
think
we
about
need
that.
to,
Mhm.
Well, why don't
Need to
we,
review,
yeah,
so-
why don't we do that? Why don't you,
That was
you
great.
can
conversation.
do anything with him, with his
Absolutely.
presence. Do that in the
Absolutely.
meantime, and then maybe
Yeah.
we reconvene in, May and we
a
probably move
decision.
forward, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as it's clear with the union, we can make a decision on that.
And then, just other little stuff. So we got approval that we're going with a full website now. So you'll be able to go to the hub website. You'll be able to, I'm gonna have all 5 of the SSA links right there. You'll be able to click on the SSA link, which would bring you to so you would click on your SSA link, which would bring you to your option of getting to the Acushnet website. So it would tie directly into the Acushnet website. So hub to the SSA to New Bedford, Acushnet, Fairhaven websites.
Which is what we're working on, which is what I sent over, which is the SSA, the shared service agreement that we work with on a weekly basis, trying to come up with the name of it, and so that we can make the website, so we can make the Facebook page, which is all gonna tie into all of this, which is gonna tie into all of
Right.
the different, the hub, but also this other shared service agreements. And, I think overall, we're all in some way, shape, or form gonna be intertwined over the time.
It's the hub is the bigger part, and then the SSAs, and then the town. So like you can see where the branches are really starting over the last 6 months. They're really starting to spread out. We're going from the 351 to, all right, now we got the SSAs that have all popped up, and now the hubs are covering the SSAs. You can see where like it's all starting to branch, but by the same token, it's all coming together too. Because now maybe we can get a couple of these SSAs to work together, and now instead of 5 or 6 communities, we got 10. The more communities working together, the better. So there's a benefit to the hubs. We'll see how many hubs. I don't envision there being 10 hubs for the rest of the time. We'll see how that goes. I'm sure at some point we're gonna shrink down to probably 5 or 6 hubs. But we'll see how that goes. I'm planning on being one of those hubs, so. Yeah, that's kind of it.
sounds like a great plan.
I think so. That's why I was kind of excited to jump on board. It was something that I know me and Joe had talked about, was something that we desperately needed years ago. So
Yeah.
when it was coming together, and I was happy to jump on board and get to work with great inspectors, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to getting the program moving, diving deep into it, and getting dirty.
Right.
Sounds like the start of maybe communities working together.
What's
For a change,
Fingers crossed.
for a
I think that's
change.
what the state's, that's what the state's vision
Yeah.
is,
In
and
a
a
state of
vision.
emergency, you gotta work in clusters like this.
Exactly,
So
because-
to me, it's the start of
It
something
is.
positive.
COVID screwed up everything. They realized that the public health system had been gutted. And so when they were trying to work with all these different communities to do stuff, there was no staffing, the nurses weren't there, you didn't have the people that you needed to do all the different heavy lifting. So that's why they kind of turned around and pulled all the vaccine right out of the local towns when they were trying to give it to us, and then they realized that we didn't have it, and you had to go to the mass spots to get the vaccinations. And because you know, you're not only dealing with the vaccinations, you're dealing with the personal information that you have to take, and then storing that and making sure that you get that where you gotta go. And I mean, you needed a group of people to do all that. So, yeah, I mean, that's not necessary. I mean, they do talk about the pandemic level stuff happening again, but if it does, we're all intertwined, hopefully, in a way that we can talk to, you know, we talk to New Bedford, we talk to Fairhaven. It's easy. You know, we can join together, we can group together and take care of the public health the
And
way that it
quickly.
needs to be. Yeah.
Quickly, like not,
Yes.
it's not gonna take months to, let's try to put this together. It's together. It would be almost instant that communication would start happening as soon as something were to go down, and that's nice. It's refreshing.
It's comfort,
Yes.
it puts you in more of a comfortable situation with a board, like when COVID hit. It's like, what do we do now? You know, you're getting this from the state, you're getting this from.
None of
it's
us
all
knew,
different.
and that
Nobody
was
knew
the
what was going on.
biggest problem
It
was
was a
that
nightmare, but it was an experience that was a plus for this board to make decisions on how that went and what, you know, the decisions that we had to make. So it was quite an experience,
it was, and
You know?
it showed a lot of
And we learned a
deficiencies
lot.
that we
Uh-huh.
had.
and we learned a lot of what we shouldn't be doing.
Mhm.
So this is gonna work well together.
I know emergency management, when I was in Freetown, I spent years putting together drills of this is what we would do during a pandemic and this is how we would handle it. And as soon as a pandemic happened, we did not do one single thing
None of it.
that we planned years for.
Yeah.
Not one thing.
Nothing.
We ended up doing exactly what we were saying
Yeah,
we
I had-
should have done.
Yeah, I had the stuff out. I was actually looking at it going, I gotta figure out what I have to do. And they're like, no, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, we're gonna do something else.
That was, you know, to this,
So now hopefully things like that wouldn't happen again. Because
Right.
now, all right, before everyone starts doing their own thing, let's get in a room and talk and figure this out.
Yeah, now, we're well educated about it now, so I mean, if something did happen, we'd go, okay, wait a minute, this is what happened last time, it's not gonna happen this time.
And
Let's make-
communication.
You know,
The state can let the hub know what's going on, and the hub can let my 24 communities know.
yeah,
I have everyone on an email blast.
Yeah.
So as soon as the state says something to the hub, I can have it out to them in 5 minutes. Communication can go through quickly. They know who to go to. If they have a question, they don't, oh, who at the state should I try to figure?
Right.
They can go right to me. Hey, can you figure this out? Sure, let me help you out. So, like even just daily phone calls, we could try to help out with stuff like that. So, it's a good program.
yes, very good.
Excellent.
I got a question. Money situation. How long is this money gonna last to?
Forever and ever. I hope.
It's not a one-year deal.
It's not a 1 year deal.
Don't forget,
It's-
this is Massachusetts.
It's,
We're under a grant, 2 year grant with an extension, and we'll see what happens from there. But the program is not something that the state wants to have fail, and they are putting a lot of stock into this program. So I wouldn't have jumped on if I thought I was gonna be unemployed in a couple of years. I'll put it that way. I think we're gonna be around for a little while.
That's good.
from the shared service side, I mean, and I'm sure this is, I don't know how this is, the hub is interconnected, but for us, it's advertised to go out for 10 years. Where they're gonna get, you know, the shared service and what we're doing and the nurse and the people that we have as part of the shared service specifically, which is, like I've said, right now, we have their nurse, that's paid for by the grant. So, you know, she's looking at, you know, at least 10 years. By 10 years, the real hope is that, number one, we're all educated in the same fashion, and number two, that we can start having that conversation about how we would fund something like this as we move forward. And is it relevant? You know, I mean, right now, you know, again, it's all in its infancy, but this is the bottom line. Are the 3 communities gonna pay for 1 nurse? And what kind of services are we gonna get out of it? That's the kind of thing down the road if this actually works, you
Well,
know?
it's like like they give grants for police and fire department, hire 3 more officers on the police department for a year, they give you a grant. The next thing you know, the grant's gone, now we're sucked in with 3 more cops on duty, another 3 more firemen, then the town taxpayers have to pick up the tab. You know, that's why I asked the question, I'm not being a
No,
wise guy or
no.
anything, but
No, it's a good question, Bob.
it's a
Oh, it's a
question,
fine
it's a
question.
question for me. My mind's always working with questions.
That's a fine
As you're
question.
talking over there, my mind's clicking like hell over here. So the thing is, I just don't wanna see the town end up with a bunch of people working with the town. And then next thing you know, they say, well, we ran out of grant money, we ran out of this. What do we do with these
Well,
people
I
now?
think,
What do we do with you now?
I think New Bedford
You don't
has
wanna
the
be out of a
grant.
job.
So I think it would be New Bedford's problem to figure out what to do with me. But that being said, again, I'm relatively confident that I'm not gonna be unemployed in a few years. This is, I think, again, I'm sure we're not gonna have 10 hubs in 4 years. I'm almost sure of that.
It's gonna shrink and you're gonna.
It's gonna shrink.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make sure that when it does shrink, I'm one of those hubs that survives.
That's
And I am gonna thrive and be here for the long haul.
Well, see, you're still young yet. When you
Oh,
get to
come
be
on.
old bucks like John and I, you know, we're getting kinda old for this, you know?
It's not nice to pick on the guy behind the camera.
Well, he can keep the camera that way, right? On you. But, no, I'm just concerned about, you know, if this thing disappears and it doesn't really work for everybody in all the communities. Now,
It's a risk that,
I would look for the worst, and then if it comes good, then it's fine.
I mean, the worst part of it is the money goes away and so does all the people, because the people are getting paid for by the grant.
That's right.
You know, so that's when, like I said earlier, the real truth will be, over time, does this really work? And this will be discussed amongst all of the communities. And if it does, is there a solution to not having all the people go away? If there is, then you guys will have to deal with it as we go.
Do we get informed of how progress is going all the time, or
Uh-huh.
was this something that we gotta try figuring out ourselves?
Well, we're figuring it out through the shared services, so I'm on a board, the
Yep.
shared service board, that, you know, constantly meets to try to figure out how to promote public health, essentially, and use those resources from the grant to do that. And right at the moment, it's really, most of it's getting pushed out through our nurse, and the big thing that we're trying to work on right now, of the 3 communities, is a healthy walk initiative. We're trying to get, you know, as many people as we can to walk. But like Derek said, even on the shared service side, which is Acushnet, Fairhaven, and New Bedford, it's just, this is the first year in the first months of trying to figure out what we're all about and what we're gonna do. You know, we have a very specific direction that we're supposed to go with it. But, you know, we sit and we talk about different ideas and different things, and, you know, sometimes the grant allows for that, sometimes the grant doesn't allow for that. The money that's spent is spent, you know, all of it's through the grant, unless there's been a few little things where we had the shots, which is different, but we had the flu shots that we had to pay for. But
I have another question for Derek. I've got a lot of questions, Derek.
I'm good.
We say we train, well, you people train a bunch of people in the whole Commonwealth of Mass to do inspections. Every person has their own mind of what they want to do for an inspection. You can let it ride, you can write it up, you can do it as a major complaint, you can do whatever the inspector feels that he's supposed to do. The thing is, everybody has their own way of doing things. Engineers have their way of doing things. Some engineers are very picky. Some engineers are not. I'm not mentioning names, but.
Move on.
So anyhow, we get some good people, and we got some people that doesn't, I don't know how they ever got a license, I don't know. But we got some good engineers around here. And I take my hat off to them because it's a tough job today. and it's a tough job to get a license. Huh, Dave? Pretty hard to be an engineer today, yeah? A lot of studying. The thing is, when people go out and do inspections, every inspection is basically different. I used to do all the inspections. Tom used to help me out a lot. We've been in here for 30-some odd years. So we've done inspections before we had health agents. We did all the inspections for the septics. We did everything, the Board of Health. It helps out because we have all jobs. So we can't just say, you call for an inspection for 10 o'clock. We can't leave our jobs to go do an inspection. That's my salary. That's why we make our money. That's why we have health agents to work with us. When there's a complaint or something, they go out, they let us know what the heck happened. If there was a major problem, he contacts the 3 board members and says, what are we gonna do now? You know, it's a major problem. We work it out. Am I right or wrong, Joe? Guys, we always
Absolutely
work it
right,
out. But the thing is, everybody has their own mind of how they do things. You know, you can lead a horse to water, but is he gonna drink?
Bottom line is you have your rules and regs that you have to follow. Bottom line. So, however, I'm not going, if I know that you're a seasoned inspector and you know what you're doing, I'm not gonna tell you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
How do I shut this thing off? Oops. Yeah.
So-
Sorry about that.
I'm not gonna tell you how to get from A to Z.
Yeah.
As long as you're getting to Z, then I'm good. As long as we're getting to Z. Now, if we never make it to Z, I understand that you've been doing this for a long time, but we need to have a conversation. Because we're not even getting to you haven't even really done an inspection here. You know what I mean? If you're hitting all the steps, how you got there, that's up to you. I know how I inspect a kitchen, probably different than how he does it, probably different than how you would do it. But if by the end of the inspection, you've covered all your bases, you've inspected everything, and you've written your violations, I'm fine with that. So a new inspector might be a little bit different. I would do it this way, I would do it that way. A seasoned inspector, let me see how you're doing this, let me see what you're doing. And if by the time we're done, you've covered your bases, I'm good. Let's make sure that we're writing everything down properly at that point. Because sometimes, we can have like a base code, but it might be a little more specific here. So are we writing that specific one down? But how you got to this point, that was you, but you got here, so I'm good. So that's gonna be kind of a judgment call on my point, this guy knows what he's doing. Let him do the inspection, we're gonna get to the right end game. As long as we get to the end game, I'm good.
As long as you write out the proper wording for it, and if you see there's something added, you get add on, you write it on your paper. That's what it's about.
That's it. That's it. And that with a seasoned inspector, that's kind of how I'm gonna be handling. Oh, you wrote this code, maybe we could have done that one, but
I like
your
to see how
inspection was
I like
great.
to see how you people do your codes now, your inspections for food. Is it still the federal inspection yet?
Yeah, we use the federal food code, whether the merged food code, and I have I have the food code that's in like a little book, and I have a little cheat sheet with me. So when I'm done I take notes on my inspection, then I go and sit down, look at my cheat sheet, which gets me to my code, and then I verify it with the code book.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it'll look good on the cheat sheet, but when I actually read the code, it doesn't quite add up. So I like using the cheat sheet to help me get to the code, and then I'll try to find the right code, and then that's where I go. That's how I do my inspections.
I like to go with you one time
Sure, anytime.
to do one
All right,
food
well,
inspection.
it's a date. You
Huh?
guys,
Right,
you
yeah.
guys,
Sign them up.
you guys get a date. All right, so why don't we have you? We'll check on the union issue, and maybe we'll reschedule you to come back in May.
Sure.
In the meantime, you can do whatever with Joe. Anytime you want to join him, anything you can set up.
Because I can do whatever with you.
I'm afraid.
I'll be calling you tomorrow morning.
I'm gonna be sick tomorrow.
Hey Joe, the fish are running right now.
Yeah.
You wanna go?
That's good.
Because there's no
Very
no
good.
board votes
Sounds-
needed for
sounds
what
like a
we're
great
just we're
plan.
just agreeing to work together at
Right.
this point. And
Yeah.
At this point, I just wanted you guys to hear about the program, know who I am, what I'm doing, what I'm envisioning the program to be, and if you guys had questions. And then any questions that you guys may think of, feel free to run them through him, or if I'm back in May, we'll touch them then.
All right, well, I thank you for coming in.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank
Nice-
you
nice
everyone.
meeting
Forward to
Take
working
care.
with you. Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
You too.
Take care.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, correspondence, letter from Community Nurse and Home Care Statistics for February 2024.
Motion.
We had 340 COVID reports, 8 flu reports. Other than that, it's pretty empty.
Motion to file?
Second?
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye,
Aye.
motion carries. Oh, let me see, so approval of minutes, October 3rd, 2023, Tom and Dave were present.
I'll make a motion to approve October 3rd.
I'll second the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 2-0 with Mr. Maderas abstaining. Next minutes are March 5th, 2024, Bob and Dave were present. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion?
I'll second the motion, all in favor?
Yep.
Aye, motion carries 2-0 with Tom abstaining. Can I get a motion to sign the vouchers?
Motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye, motion carries 3-0, sign vouchers. Next scheduled meeting date? Any ideas, Joe?
I'm just looking at it here, where it's second, I mean, we could do the 7th,
That sounds good. May 7th.
Nah, it's my birthday.
Okay.
Oh, come
Hey, I
on.
just had a birthday yesterday, pal, not me in today.
I'm not coming here on my birthday.
14th.
You don't wanna miss the cake.
We had a nice cake, a nice roast cake.
Need lobster. May 14th.
Yep.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye, motion carries. We are now.